guys, this is Rick coming at you with Weed to No Basis, the podcast for all things cannabis business related. Are you an entrepreneur? Have something you wanted to create, something you wanted to bring to life in the cannabis industry? Maybe you've always wanted to partake in one of the biggest industries in modern day history. This is the podcast to listen to that. All right, guys, we're here with another episode of Weed to No Basis. And remember, you guys have heard this before. I'm a repetitive SOB. If you're listening or watching, it's because you two are on a we to know basis. Now, before I give the next intro, I just got to tell you that it's been a crazy beginning of 2020. As you're listening or tuning in, whether it's in April or even 2021, we're just back-to-back recording episodes in January of 2020. And so, but I'm super stoked today. We're all in the hustle. We're all grinding and hustling as entrepreneurs or canna-curious folks. But today I've got somebody I consider a friend, and just a super cool dude doing some really cool things. Ben Pasquel coming at us from, where are you at today, Ben?
Scottsdale, Arizona, the new home.
I love that. And the crowd goes wild, right? So it's cool. So some of you folks listen on iTunes or Stitcher or Spotify. I'm just going to compel you that when you go to WeedTube or to YouTube, you can actually watch the show, watch this live. So Ben was just doing a hands in the air wave. So Ben, you just moved to Scottsdale, right?
Yes, on actually Christmas Day, we decided to move our headquarters for both of our businesses from LA to Scottsdale.
All right, and my pen just stopped working. So folks, if I'm looking up, it's because I'm typing in names. So, okay, let me pull a thread there. You said us both move our businesses. So what does that mean? Like your significant other, married, girlfriend, what's going on?
Exactly. So girlfriend for about like 3 years now. Both of us are entrepreneurs. We actually decided to leave the corporate world together and kind of pursue what our passions were at the time. Mine being cannabis and hers being fitness. But both of us both kept intermingling with each other's businesses, helping each other out. And I think at the end of the day, it just was signs of a good relationship that we were both giving each other synergy to keep pushing each other forward. So we decided, hey, the best strategic next move would be to move to Scottsdale, have a little bit more space, being a not as saturated market as well, being in California and being in the CBD industry, which we're super pumped up about.
Nice. So Scottsdale, Arizona. And I heard you say you moved on Christmas Day.
Yep. That's the only day in LA you won't find traffic.
Holy geez. All right, so I'm going to rewind a little. I'm going to rewind a little bit further because, and folks, stay tuned. You're going to want to hear the story about Ben and his company and startup. But Ben and we've known each other for a few years now, and you didn't come from LA to Scottsdale. What was before LA? Now, tell us where you lived prior to moving to California.
Yeah, so I was raised in like the Washington D.C. area, Northern Virginia, as well as D.C. And so that's what pretty much born and raised there. And then after a certain point of being in a corporate world or corporate job, that was a really good experience, learned everything about sales, learned everything about kind of how corporate jobs are supposed to work, but really didn't have that drive in me, that passion. And I've known since probably high school / college that I really wanted to pursue the cannabis industry, and not only the recreational side, more so the therapeutic side of things. And so especially with a lot of the loved ones, including my girlfriend, who had a herniated disc at the age of, she was 21 at the time, and she had to get surgery. She was on a lot of pharmaceuticals, and we started implementing CBD into her daily regimen to kind of help relieve some of the inflammation. And I saw it firsthand help her dramatically get off of pharmaceuticals. So it just kind of reassured my passion, and that's really when the trigger switched. Hey, I need to do this right now.
Gotcha. So your girlfriend, that's Meg, right?
Meg. Or Fit Little Meg, as some people know her as on Instagram.
That's right. So shout out. It's at the @ then Fit Little Meg, right?
Yep.
Yes. I love it. Hold on. Let's see if my iPad, my iPad pen had a mind of its own and it stopped working. So I just tried to reboot it. Let's see if it comes back online. And no, it's not. So that's cool. I'm one of those, some people feel lost without our little blankie or something like that. Yeah. My little blankie is taking notes on my iPad. So now I'm oh my God, what do I do now? What do I do? I'm just kidding. I have another pad up here on the screen. So by the way, folks, if you see me looking up, it's because I type up notes as we're talking on the screen. Okay, so your cannabis origin story, which and what I love is that you have one. You were kind of pulling the string a little bit there. Um, from so Scottsdale, prior to that, Southern Cal, prior to that, growing up, corporate job in the Nova area, which is Northern Virginia, DC area. And you and Meg were an item then. She had back problems. CBD was a solution that worked for you guys, and that uh, is it fair to say that was kind of the moment, the trigger moment that you kind of put your chips on the table and went into the industry?
Yeah, yeah, definitely was the moment that I kind of was like, hey, let's do this, because I found CBD being a really good way to introduce people to cannabis that aren't necessarily looking to get high, especially with hemp-derived CBDs. It's going to have that small amount of THC, so really my business is kind of trying to change that stigma that a full spectrum product, including a little bit of THC, isn't going to necessarily be bad for you. It's not going to get you high. Even a higher dosage of THC isn't going to be bad for you also, but this is a good way to kind of slowly wean the community and everybody in the US to start realizing the benefits that cannabis can bring to the floor.
Nice. So, I don't want to make this a full-on entrepreneurial kind of conversation, because you've done so much in such a wicked short time. Like, I mean that with you've done, and we're going to tease some of that out. But you mentioned corporate jobs. So you worked for a major company, like I think it was which one was it?
ADP.
ADP, that's right.
And then before that, I was doing another corporate job too. So I was out of college for a good amount of time before I decided to make the switch from corporate America to entrepreneurship. But everything happens for a reason, and all those jobs really lined me up for kind of getting myself out there and starting my own business, putting myself out on the ledge and accepting rejection, and that's something that every entrepreneur has to accept, that you will get a lot of rejection, but those yeses is going to be what makes it worth it.
Gotcha. Were you in sales at ADP?
Yeah, I was an outside sales consultant.
Nice. So ADP, for those folks who don't know, they manage payroll, they're an outsourced payroll company for companies. Mm-hmm. So you had let's call it a traditional job. Doing your thing. You and Meg lived in Virginia. And then the moment came, CBD kind of changed things. So walk us through how you went from Virginia, which is on the East Coast, to you were in Southern California, LA on the West Coast. Like, walk us through that A to Z point. How did that happen?
So at the time, when I was still doing the corporate world and kind of having the notion of saying, hey, we're probably going to move to California soon, Megan was kind of set on saying, hey, we're going to California, or at least I'm going to California. And at that point, everything kind of just lined up, because both of our fiscal years ended about the beginning of the summer. So at that point, if I wanted to make a transition out of the job, I was in really good standings too with my previous company. It just made sense to kind of just hit the road and go. So that's pretty much exactly what we did. I was applying for a lot of cannabis jobs from Virginia in California, but the industry specifically, you're not going to probably get somebody through email. You'll see a lot of different listings for Indeed and all those different recruiting websites for cannabis jobs, but a lot of those are black holes because they're getting such an influx of different people applying for them, especially if you're from out of state. They want to see people who are ready to come right now, and usually it's about who you know in the cannabis industry, because there are kind of some gray areas still, so that's something that I found out the hard way. So at that point, since I wasn't getting any returns back from emails and calls, I figured the best way to do it is to show face. So that's when I was like, all right, we're going to California. Let's go meet these people. This is what I do for a job, is going and knocking on doors and introducing myself and say, hey, I can help you with something. And that's kind of what I took, grabbed my balls and went,
Nice. That takes a lot of courage. I'm just going to tell you. I mean, a lot of folks, especially as we record this in early 2020, a lot of folks have promises and resolutions, and you took action. And I think that's a distinguishing factor from a lot of listeners out there. And again, folks, if whether you're listening or watching, I want you to take note of the fact that it doesn't matter how big the dreams are, the vision, or whatever you want to frame it, or the resolution or the promise, is nothing matters until you act. And you acted big. You literally packed up and moved to the other side of the country, and to southern Los Angeles, right outside Venice, which is my most favorite place on earth, Venice Beach. And so interesting. So I didn't realize, so Indeed is a portal where folks can apply if you're not familiar with Indeed.com. And so in your experience, there is just an onslaught, face-to-face mattered. So you went out and showed face, and you started working at a dispensary in Southern Cal, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I actually went to I had a few friends out in California too that knew some dispensary owners. So I went to a few of them. A lot of them are what some people refer to them as trap shops. So they weren't fully licensed. And at that point too, usually the pay wasn't as good. And so I figured if I'm coming out here to be in the legal cannabis industry, that's what I want to stick with. So I kept applying, and then I figured I might as well work for the biggest cannabis company in California, or technically in the US, which was MedMen. And at that point I found Abbott Kinney, which is one of their flagship stores now. It's giant. And just pretty much just knocked on the door, went in there, introduced myself to the GM, and was like, hey, I'm applying here. I don't see any reason for me not to get the job. I feel like I'm very qualified in terms of sales. And I'm very well versed in cannabis also. And then at that point, I came in there with like a nice button down, pants, went in there to say, hey, I'm getting this job. Of course, a lot of the other people who were interviewing with me were just kind of in regular street clothes. But I mean, I knew what I wanted, so I went out and got it.
Love it. I love that. And I want to point out, because with all love and respect, I'm old enough to be your dad. So you're, no, this is something that parents always tell their kids is, if you want it, go get it. And you freaking did it. Like you dressed the part, you did the do, you literally took yourself from not just around the block, but across the country. And you started working at MedMen as a bud tender, right?
Yeah. And the main reason really behind wanting to get into the dispensary is, of course, learning the cannabis side of things. But since at that point I was starting a CBD company online, that was more of like a retail spot, selling other people's products, doing a drop shipping model. I personally never had retail experience. And so if I wanted to eventually create products, which I had in my mind, and eventually start getting into stores, I needed to understand the back end of what companies were looking for and how the operations worked and everything. So that's where I went in there with specific goals of learning stuff going in there. So when I went in there, I didn't just act like an employee. I was asking a million questions to people that I wasn't even supposed to be talking to technically. I was going in the back of the house, talking to the operations leads, talking to the managers, talking to GMs. When corporate employees came in, I was picking their brain about what they did. And once I found out, especially if they were in like marketing or whatnot, I would start picking their brain. Hey, what kind of struggles did you find when you were trying to do different marketing campaigns for cannabis? And those kind of things, those kind of questions that were unlimited really helped me out kind of grow to where I'm at today.
Love it. And so Meg was there, and Meg was doing her thing, and she wasn't necessarily in the cannabis industry, right?
Not in the cannabis industry. She was helping out with Terp Nutrition though, especially with her advocacy in terms of how CBD helped her. She was more in the full fitness, like personal training, lifestyle coaching, mainly online. She had a few in-person clients as well, but then she did influencing and different marketing ambassadorships with different brands also.
Nice. This is randomly curious, but when you say the word influence, I've heard it come up a lot, and whenever I interview folks, and so that's somebody like she has a presence, and so do you. You have a presence on. Let's use Instagram as the example. So an influencer is somebody who uses their social presence to impact, and then of course to build their business, right?
Absolutely. You're learning how to monetize your network pretty much.
Nice. So you guys are from Virginia, CBD, help with back pain, moved to LA, dressed up really good, got the job. You knew you were going to get the job. Started working as a bud tender at one of the largest, probably the largest marijuana companies in the country. And I know MedMen. I go to MedMen as a sidebar. I always make sure I stop at a MedMen store whenever there's one in the town I'm visiting. you and Meg were living in Marina Del Rey, California. Her doing hers, you're doing yours. So that doesn't make sense. Her doing she was doing her thing, you doing your thing.
Exactly.
So tell us then, Terp Nutrition, or your first CBD company, was that a side gig? Is that how it kind of started?
Yeah, it was a side gig, kind of understanding like the different side of online sales. And at first I thought it was going to be the one, like the business that I was going to ride with, you know, and I was going to be making products under that name. There was a couple things and a couple struggles that came up that kind of became roadblocks in a way, which one of them was a lesson that really I ended up learning was just keep cautious of who's around you and who's listening. And especially in LA, I found out that a lot of people just aren't doesn't have a genuine intention, because it is a dog-eat-dog world out in LA. So I learned the hard way that I was kind of overexposing what I was doing, and educating some people who already had successful businesses in the supplement realm. And they ended up actually kind of going behind my back and trademarking the product name that I was actually consulting with him about what I should do, because he was a little bit older. He told me to confide in him, tell him, and see if he could help me out in any way, you know. So I became vulnerable and told him kind of what I had planned, the secrets, the different formulations, and he ended up trademarking it pretty much 2 or 3 days before I ended up filing the trademark, which ended up putting me back some. But everything happens for a reason. So I learned a lot about that, but then it also lined me up for a more therapeutic product in the way. I feel like my last company was called Hemp Gains, and it was targeted more toward younger generations, when I wanted to have a more broad spectrum of who it can impact. And Terp Nutrition is a lot more friendly to all different generations. Hemp Gains, I feel like, targets it more down to 25 and under.
Nice. So the proverbial, when one door closes, one opens, that almost literally happened with you.
Yeah, exactly. And it took a lot of planning and figuring out everything, and obviously a lot of frustration, but I mean, I knew something was going to happen, and you have to be able to kind of pivot and keep going. And a lot of, like I said, a lot of failure, a lot of rejection is going to happen, and it's part of the process. And you got to just trust yourself and trust what you're putting out there and your knowledge, and just apply it and execute.
Yeah, and then keep going even through all the shit storms that happen in life and in business. Just keep on driving.
Yeah, and we don't have investors in either of our businesses either. So we have to think of different strategic ways to be able to generate stuff, to be able to put more stuff out there, and make sure that the money keeps coming in. So we have a lot of different side things going on also, and so now everything's starting to kind of even out. We got a couple new products too coming up, which I won't disclose too much, but we're super pumped up about it as well.
Very cool. I'm checking out one of the things I do, and you're going to drop some of the links at the end, but I actually follow you and Meg, and we run several Instagram profiles. And so besides knowing you personally and Meg as well, I follow you guys, and I love I'm pulling it up right now just because I'm randomly curious what the latest post was from Terp Nutrition. Tell us, where does the name come from, Terp Nutrition?
So my main thing is like I said at the beginning of the episode, incorporating full spectrum. So incorporating all the cannabinoids in the hemp plant or the marijuana plant, but in our case, hemp, and kind of normalizing the use as an active recovery product. So terpenes is a big driver for cannabis in general. A lot of people have the misconception of sativa and indica is actually just the effects. Realistically, it actually is just the definition of how the plants look. What actually drives the sativa and the indica is actually terpenes, which really drive the effect for the more therapeutic approach, which interact with the cannabinoids. Nerding out a little bit, but it's pretty much the science behind how the CBD can affect your body.
No, I love it. I've actually been, in all seriousness, I've never heard that before. I've always been of the train of thought, if you will, that's indica is when you want to chill and sativa is when you want to come up, and that's how it was. But what you're saying is that it's more the look of the plant, one tall and slender, one kind of short and wide, but it's the terpenes that create the effect that one is seeking. Interesting. Okay.
Exactly.
I feel like
every once in a while you'll see like an indica plant that will give you more stimulating effect, and you'll be like, wait, I thought this looked like an indica, but you'll
Gotcha.
smell maybe like a lemony scent, and it'll end up being that sativa kind of feel, you know?
Gotcha. I did not know that. I'm not saying that for the sake of us being live. I always just thought there was indica, sativa, and then of course a hybrid, and that was it. I honestly, I've never delved into the whole terpene science and, the blends and all the, whatever, limonene and all this.
It's amazing. It's
Yeah.
honestly amazing. And so that's where Terp Nutrition came from, was the terpene blends that we have are a lot more specific than just putting like a full spectrum of CBD in some MCT oil, you know? So we have these specifically formulated products that really gear toward that recovery or that specific product to how it's supposed to outcome.
Gotcha. And that's a distinguishing factor for you is, in my opinion, is that it's not just a full spectrum and MCT. This is a specific blend that's designed to create a specific effect for a specific user or consumer then.
Exactly.
Nice.
So we end up usually getting better results that way because we are implementing added terpenes as well. So usually the customer ends up getting a better experience at that. And so a lot of people who maybe have tried isolate CBDs or even some full spectrums, they'll compare it to ours and they end up having a lot better result too.
Who would you say your ideal user is or consumer, your ideal client? Is it somebody? And the reason I'm asking is because as we're talking, I did click over to your Instagram, and Instagram seems to be the place where most of us hang out most of us hang out often. I get a feeling of young, athletic, vibrant, energized, kind of a youthful type of person. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, a lot of our customers are youthful, anywhere from between the age of like 25 to 35 is our main. But then we also have a pretty high demographic of the 50 plus, who are, a lot of people are using that for a lot of the creams they like a lot dramatically, especially with like arthritis in their hands. They like that. So the topicals really help with that aspect of things.
Gotcha. I will vouch. I will say that as somebody who fits in that second demographic, the 50 plus, even though I look like I'm in my 30s, just kidding. The topicals have become a favorite of mine. I'm being like totally serious. You're right. I'm looking at my desk here and I have several topicals here, and they work wonders. Frankly, it takes a little bit longer for guys like me to recover than I imagine guys like you. So this is another random question, but now that you're in Scottsdale, which is in Arizona, and you're not near the beach, is the kind of the feel of Terp Nutrition, at least the way one sees it on Instagram, because there's a lot of SoCal, there's a vibe about it. Will it still maintain the vibe but have a different kind of backdrop, like deserty? That's a random question, but I'm curious.
No, that's a really good question actually, and I think so. We have a pool in the backyard of our new house too, so it's really nice that we can just go out there. And we already have like events planned that we're going to be inviting a lot of different like influencers over to our house and doing collaborations with them. So we have a lot of things going on and always networking with people. That's what me and Meg love to do, is just communicate, like go and interact with people. So we're going to still keep that vibe. I have a few people out in SoCal also who are going to be helping me out with marketing also. So it's going to be all over the place, but we're trying to keep that vibrant, good, positive energy alive on our Instagram feed.
Yeah, I love it. There is a different, it feels alive. The page really pops. So obviously you're in Arizona now. You're not part of the MedMen company anymore, or are you still part of MedMen? Do they have places in Arizona?
They do have one. They actually have one in Scottsdale, but with a lot of things going on, I figured if I was going to make this jump over here now, I needed to kind of double down, especially with new products getting made, that I can't be splitting time. At one point, I was doing full-time with them, full-time with Terp Nutrition. My mental health eventually kind of just started taking a toll because I was spinning my tires, not getting the proper sleep. So I wasn't really able to function at 100%. So ended up coming out here specifically to work on Terp. So that's pretty much what I've been doing nonstop. And it's nice not having to do both things right now.
So you're fully into Terp Nutrition now?
Right now, yeah. Super pumped up about it too.
I didn't know that. That's awesome. Congratulations. It's a big deal in my opinion, that when the side gig becomes a split gig becomes the gig. That's it's a big deal. And does it feel scary?
Yeah, hell yeah. Especially because one of our main things right now is getting into stores. That was kind of our initiative for 2020, starting off as getting into some more stores. And so, when we say stores, I don't mean specifically just like pharmacies and stuff like that. I'm looking at like different massage studios, chiropractors, yoga studios, those type of athletic places that people are going to need recovery, or they get recommended from people that they trust. Because we've been getting a lot of good feedback with a couple chiropractors out in LA. So just continuously doing that. But it is scary to go out on your own, but it's worth it though. I love that hustle.
Yeah, it is. It's a different feeling when we know that we are responsible for putting food on the table. Like
Mhm.
it's up to us. So I feel you, Ben. No, I do. Like it's scary, but it's also invigorating. And
Oh, for sure.
it's not one of those fears that keeps you down. It's one of those fears that drives you forward.
Yeah, and every opportunity is an opportunity until you completely like just give up on it. And so, especially with me taking that jump out here, now every opportunity that I have that comes to my head, should I ask him this? I end up just saying F it and just putting it out there and just talking ridiculously now with people. But I mean, I need to get my message across. I need to tell people what I want, what I'm trying to get. But also, I'm a big person in helping other people out too. So usually I end up asking them, what can I help you with? Especially with our experience with fitness, because Meg does competition, so like bodybuilding. I'm actually probably going to end up doing a possible first show at the end of this year or next year. So I'm starting to train for that. So we have a lot of experience with like the health and wellness aspect of things that we can bring to the table before even offering like a CBD product. So that's kind of what we're trying to do, is build a community out from mental health, physical health, just all around nutrition as well.
Love it. So your business, the Terp Nutrition, the business of CBD, is actually a part of not only, I'm going to guess your regimen, your training, but it sounds like everything's fitting together. It's very cool. So you said you're going to do like a bodybuilding or like fitness competition, like you personally?
Yeah, me personally. So I'm actually trying to put on size. I started training at end of October, and so by December, so about 2 months, I was weighing 15 pounds heavier. So I'm still trying to get to 200 pounds. I'm about 4 pounds away, and then next step would be 215, continuously growing and putting on size.
Dang. Holy jeez.
Yeah, I'm eating about like 5,000 calories a day.
Holy crap. Guacamole. That's a lot of calories. So so here we are, New Year. Most people are getting to 5,000 calories a week, and you're doing that a day.
Yeah.
Holy jeez. Is Terp a part of your regimen then? Like your
100%. I've actually recently started developing some tennis elbow / like tendonitis, I think, in my elbows, forearms. And it's been helping me a lot because we do a lot of different like rolling out, as well as like we have the Theragun also that just like shoots it like. But and after those different like rollouts and exercises, my whole arm is just super inflamed. So I always use the topical and all the tinctures underneath too. The next day I wake up feeling a lot better, honestly.
Dang. Very cool. How cool even that you're feeling better with your very own product. That's gonna be an awesome.
Gotta make sure I don't use all of it though.
Very cool, Ben. I'm curious because as we're talking, I'm in Central Texas and you're now in Arizona. What's the weather like there right now as we're talking?
Oh, it's actually really nice. It's like probably like 60, 65 right now.
Nice.
Super nice. But when we first moved here, it was a lot colder than I expected. It was getting down to like 35, 40. I thought I was moving to the desert, but soon enough, it'll be like 120 degrees.
Yeah, that's no doubt. You are in the desert, Arizona. Is that going to be home, do you think? Like staying there in Arizona?
Yeah, I think we're going to stay here for a good amount of time. I told Meg too, once we move again, that we have to stay there for at least 5 years for our business sake, so we can become more established and continuously growing instead of moving the majority of the time. So, and we also love this area. We're in Scottsdale, so it's a really nice area. They have a lot of different shops, places you can walk, a lot of outdoor trails. The gym community seems really cool here too. So it's just really vibrant, and it's not as crowded and it's cleaner than LA for sure.
Yeah, it's got a lot to offer, that's for sure. LA has its very own
I love
LA is,
LA though. Don't get me
yes.
wrong. Well, not the downtown. I'm not a big fan of the downtown, but the west side, like Venice, Santa Monica, Marina Del Rey, I love the beach side, the west side.
Yeah, it's just so dang expensive to live there.
Oh yeah. You
Yeah.
don't get much. You don't get much for what you pay for.
No, no, that's why we only go and visit there. I was born and raised in LA, but we just, Lisa and I, my wife, Lisa, I know you know that, but from folks out there, we go visit and we come back home to Texas because you can actually live here in Texas.
It's expensive. Definitely expensive.
Very cool. What's next? Like if you think of the next 12 months, and again, not necessarily a calendar year, but because if somebody listens to this, sometime in June, what's next for Ben and for Terp, for you guys, business or personal, that you want to share over the next 12 months?
Next 12 months, like I said, we're going to try getting into more stores, trying to do more sponsorships. We're just trying to get our name to be a household name. So really just spreading and opening up the community. Within 12 months, we're trying to get about 1,000 people, at least, that's consistently interacting with our community that we also co-host with Positively Fit Community, which is the community that my girlfriend runs. So we're trying to add 1,000 more people to that list because we host different types of events that are fitness events. So for example, the last event we did, which is the Positively Fit Boot Camp out in LA, technically Santa Monica, that we just grab everybody together. We do like a full boot camp, positive like mindset training, and then we do like kind of like a networking event from there. And so it's really nice because then everybody gets goodie bagged with all these different sponsors, and it's just a good way to kind of bring a community together. And so that's what we're continuously trying to do, is put on these type of events that makes that community actually tangible.
Love it. So the grassroots marketing isn't necessarily, I mean, it is inclusive of like social media, but you're actually going out there and interacting with people live in events. I love that.
Absolutely.
I love that. I'm a big fan of that, of people getting to know who the faces behind the brand are. And you guys live it. You live, breathe, eat, train, recover, all on Terp Nutrition. And I'm still blown away by you eat 5,000 calories a day.
Oh yeah, I'm eating all the time.
Holy geez, I can't even imagine what a meal must look like for you. Like I think of like when I was growing up reading the old school muscle and fitness mags and seeing some of those guys when they bulk up having these huge meals multiple times a day. Like what the heck?
That's me.
Dang, I wouldn't do that. The only bulk I would gain would be right down here, my midsection. And yeah, there's definitely.
I've gained there too, though. It's everywhere. But eventually, the cut will end up coming back. But it's going to be worth it to have that muscle mass when I end up shutting down.
Very cool. Are you doing like before and after? Like, do you have shots of when you started and then when you are at your what do you call it, competition size or competition ready?
Yeah, we've been doing it, like when I was working with a coach the last 2 months before I left LA, especially because I was working out at the Mecca, which is the Gold's Gym in Venice Beach, which is where like everybody trains, all the top trainers train. So I had I figured if it's my last 2 months in LA, I might as well work with one of the best coaches. So every week I would actually send on Sundays pictures of myself to do check marks. And so now me and Meg are actually holding ourselves accountable with each other. Since we don't have any coaches right now in this interim period, that we're starting to check in every single Sunday with each other saying, all right, this is what we need to do. We need to increase food. We need to lower food, kind of depending on our bodies.
Love it. I want to point something out, Ben. As you're talking, I'm picking up what you're putting down. And I just want to remind the listeners or viewers that you're talking about competition. You're talking about fitness, working out, your life, all the things that go around it. And lest the people forget, you are also a full-time entrepreneur, business owner, and it sounds and feels like it's a very well-balanced thing you've got going on there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've struggled with mental health in the past, and being more fitness oriented now, I'm feeling a lot better. I'm being able to be more efficient with work also. So it's letting me get a lot of stress out so that I can focus on the business that I need to actually do. It is sometimes a lot when I'm eating that much food and training, but at the same time, I feel a lot better when I'm doing it. And I know that my health is going to be in a better place. So then at the end of the day, I can be a better business owner.
Love it. Better business owner, better human being, better everything. Ben, it's been a pleasure. Where can folks find you online, or where do you want them to go to look for what you guys are doing with Ben, Terp, and Meg?
Yeah, so you can find the Terp Nutrition at Terp Nutrition across pretty much all platforms. And that's TERP, Nutrition. And then also my personal page would be Not Your Average Ben, but the your is spelled UR. So it's not UR, Average Ben. And then Fit Little Meg, of course, we've mentioned that. That's going to be another one. She's super motivating, especially in terms of like mindset. That's a big driver for what she really focuses on in her content. And then the Positively Fit community is something which I mentioned before. That's really a community of just helping encourage each other to live the best lives, especially if you're having maybe a down day. We have that on all platforms as well. So Terp Nutrition and Positively Fit community work a lot together because they have the same end goals, helping other people.
Love it. It's all kind of symbiotic. Everything you guys do, you live, breathe, eat, and breathe. Everything you say, what you say is who you really are. And I love that about you. You know what else I'm randomly curious as we kind of wrap up is you guys, the day you get married and have kids, you're going to have some super kids. Like this is,
That's the goal.
Yeah, there's going to be some damn super kids coming out of Scottsdale, Arizona. So
Oh, yeah, we'll make them real big.
interesting. Hey guys, but listen, we're going to put all those in the show notes, all the links, the things. So if you're driving, don't try and write or text yourself. Pull over if you need to. These will all be in the show notes. Ask questions, leave your comments. Ben, as usual, again, folks, Ben is a guy I've known for a while, and I couldn't wait to get him on here. Looking forward to seeing you again in person.
Absolutely.
And again, folks, if you're listening, if you're watching, make sure that you're sharing this. You know, this is a totally free show. It's out there for anybody to consume. We want to make sure you're getting the info, the stuff you need. If you're looking to get into the industry, maybe you're just curious, you're looking for the right people to connect with and the right products. Those are the kind of people that we focus on in businesses here on Weed to Know Basis. And if you're watching or listening, it's because you too on a Weed to Know Basis. Have an awesome rest of the day, week, month, year. Have an awesome life. Peace.